is a life of crime. They got my back against the wall.
They ruled the streets in 1991. Cool, fierce, unforgettable. But behind the scenes of New Jack City was a cast fighting demons, chasing dreams, and hiding heartbreaks. 34 years later, some are legends, some are lost, and others vanished without a trace. What happened to the icons of this cult classic? Fame faded. Time didn't wait. The truth will shock you. Ice-T as Scotty Appleton. In New Jack City, he wasn't just a cop. He was a storm in a badge. Ice-T's portrayal of Scotty Appleton was raw, explosive, and real. You didn't just watch him, you felt him. The pain in his eyes, the fury in his voice, the street still running through his veins. It was a breakout moment that seemed to rewrite the rules of who could wear the badge on screen. But just 1 year later, Ice-T went from Hollywood's rising star to public enemy #1. His song Cop Killer sparked national outrage. Politicians attacked him. Police unions boycotted him. Radio stations blacklisted his music. His record deal? Gone. His movie career? On life support? For a moment, it looked like New Jack City might be both his debut and his farewell. But Ice-T doesn't fold. He fights. He transformed the narrative with Law and Order, SVU, turning from the voice against police to one of the most iconic TV detectives of all time. As Finn Tutuola, he outlasted critics, canceled culture, and even the president's wrath. Yet behind the fame, the drama never stopped. Tabloid scandals, marital rumors with Coco Austin, distant relationships with his kids, and whispers of arrogance followed him everywhere. But Ice-T kept walking through the fire, with a smirk. From the edge of cancellation to a $65 million empire built on TV, music, and real estate, Ice-T didn't just survive, he conquered. But the war scars, they never faded. Bill Cobbs as the old man. He didn't need a gun or a badge, just a stare, just a voice. In New Jack City, Bill Cobbs played the old man with a presence so haunting, it cut through the chaos like a whisper in a hurricane. He wasn't in many scenes, but when he spoke, it was like hearing the soul of a broken city cry out. Off-screen, Cobbs was that rare actor who brought dignity to every line, even when Hollywood only gave him one. Always the wise elder, rarely the lead. While others chased fame, he fought just to be seen. Even after unforgettable roles in The Bodyguard and The Hudsucker Proxy, casting directors still boxed him in. Just say something deep, then disappear. But Cobbs never complained. He kept working, quietly, fiercely, with over 200 film and TV credits to his name. He turned rejection into resilience and gave every role the weight of 1,000 untold stories. Yet few knew the pain he carried. Blacklisted for refusing roles that mocked his identity. For years, he vanished into background roles, waiting to be more than just the wise old black man. In 2024, the industry barely blinked when he passed at 90. But fans remembered that face, that silence, that strength. Do you remember the old man's warning in the movie? Jake LaMotta as gangster. He didn't need to act tough. He was tough. When Jake LaMotta showed up in New Jack City as a stone-faced gangster, it wasn't just a cameo, it was a ghost from a darker, bloodier past. That wasn't makeup. Those weren't scripted scars. That was the real-life Bronx Bull, stepping into the frame like a man still chasing redemption. Most people remember LaMotta from Raging Bull, immortalized by Robert De Niro in a performance that won an Oscar and exposed every brutal truth, the violence, the cheating, the rage. The film made Jake a legend, but it also trapped him inside his own myth. For the rest of his life, Hollywood didn't want Jake the actor. They wanted Jake the monster. He tried to reinvent himself, bit parts in films, stints in stand-up comedy, and small roles like this one. But the shadow of his past was too long. and every scene felt like a reminder of what might have been if the fists had stopped swinging sooner. By the time New Jack City came around, he was fading. Not just from Hollywood, but from the world. Divorces, arrests, regrets he wore like an old robe. He lived long, into his 90s, but never quite escaped the rage that made him famous. Do you think Jake LaMotta could have been more than the legend he became, or was he always destined to live in the shadow of his own story? Chris Rock as Pookie. He was twitchy, tragic, unforgettable. In New Jack City, Chris Rock's Pookie wasn't just comic relief. He was heartbreak in a hoodie. One minute, he made you laugh. The next, he crushed you. Rock gave the crack addict a soul, turning what could have been a stereotype into a haunting warning. This is what happens when the streets win. That role changed everything. People stopped seeing him as just a skinny stand-up kid from Brooklyn. They saw depth, they saw pain, they saw potential. But success never came easy. Rock's early days on Saturday Night Live were lonely, underused, overlooked. While others soared, he sat in the background, quietly boiling. New Jack City was his breakout. Bring the Payne in 1996 made him a legend. But every high came with a fall. His marriage collapsed in 2016 after he admitted to multiple affairs. And then came 2022, the slap heard around the world. On the Oscars stage, Rock stood stunned as Will Smith struck him in front of millions. The trauma ran deep, panic attacks, therapy 7 hours a week. He later admitted he was never the same. Still, he's here, touring, creating, enduring. But now, when people see Chris Rock, they see two things: brilliance and that moment. What do you remember most about Pookie? The laugh, the fall, or the way it hit too close to home? Let's talk, because sometimes the funniest man in the room is also the one who's hurting the most. Judd Nelson as Nick Peretti. He wasn't the clean-cut hero. He was the wild card. In New Jack City, Judd Nelson played Nick Peretti like a man with nothing to lose, sarcastic, aggressive, and dangerously unpredictable. His chemistry with Ice-T crackled on screen, giving the film an edge that felt almost too real. For Nelson, it was more than a role. It was a shot at reinvention. Because by 1991, the rebel from The Breakfast Club was already falling off Hollywood's radar. Studios wanted the teen idol forever, but Nelson wanted out of the locker room and into the fire. New Jack City was his way of saying, I can go dark, I can go deep, but Hollywood doesn't always forgive those who won't play the game. The 90s were rough, films flopped, his reputation soured, rumors swirled, difficult on set, unprepared, erratic. Twice hospitalized for burnout, Nelson's talent was often buried under the headlines. He found some stability in TV. Suddenly, Susan gave him a paycheck and a place to breathe. But the big screen never fully welcomed him back. Instead of fame, he chose distance. A quiet life in Los Angeles, away from the noise, the pressure, and the fame that once crowned him and then crushed him. Do you think Judd Nelson was punished for growing up? Bill Nunn as Doo-Doo Man. He didn't have the biggest role, but the moment he stepped on screen as Da-Da-Da Man, you couldn't look away. Bill Nunn had that gift, making the strange unforgettable. In a film full of gangsters, dealers, and double-crossing cops, he stood out with halting speech and eerie calm, like someone who'd seen too much and couldn't unsee it. But New Jack City wasn't his first time stealing scenes. 2 years earlier, he made film history as Radio Raheem in Do the Right Thing. That boombox, that tragic end, that symbol of a system that still hasn't changed. It made him iconic, but also boxed him in. Hollywood saw the size, the voice, the presence. They missed the man. He kept getting cast as the silent threat, the tough guy with a heart, but never got the complex roles he craved. Behind the camera, he was battling something far deeper: depression, quiet, chronic, and mostly hidden. He poured himself into Pittsburgh's youth programs, local theater, and mentoring young talent. But Hollywood never quite saw all of who he was, and when blood cancer hit in 2015, Nunn stayed silent. No fanfare, no farewell tour, just work, love, and then gone. When he died in 2016, people were shocked. Many didn't even know he was sick. Which Bill Nunn performance left a mark on you? Was it Radio Raheem, Da-Doo-Doo Man, or something else entirely? Michele as Selena Thomas. She walked into New Jack City like she belonged on the cover of a magazine, but her eyes said she knew the empire could fall at any moment. As Selena, Michele brought elegance into a world dripping with blood and betrayal. She wasn't just Nino Brown's girlfriend. She was the symbol of everything he stood to lose. Hollywood should have rolled out the red carpet after that performance. Instead, it slammed the door. Michele's first major film role should have been Harlem Nights, but after she allegedly rejected Eddie Murphy's advances, she was fired. The headlines came fast. The silence after? Even louder. Hollywood doesn't forgive women who stand up to power. She fought her way back through TV, ER, Dynasty, moments of brilliance that never lasted long. Shows were canceled, scripts rewritten, roles vanished. Behind the camera, she was battling something more brutal than the industry, PCOS. The condition stole her confidence, her body, and the chances Hollywood gives only to the flawless. And yet, she endured, with grace, with grit, carving out a career that wasn't loud, but lasted. Michele didn't just survive the game, she stared it down and walked away on her own terms. What do you think Hollywood lost by not giving her more? Do you remember Selena's most powerful scene? Mario Van Peebles as Detective Stone. He wasn't just in New Jack City, he built it. Mario Van Peebles didn't just play Detective Stone, the calm force trying to outthink Nino Brown. He directed the entire film. At 34, he wasn't just telling a story, he was making history. A young black filmmaker taking on Hollywood on his own terms. The result? A cultural earthquake. Gritty, stylish, raw. New Jack City proved that black cinema could be box office gold, and Van Peebles was hailed as the future. But Hollywood has a short memory. His next films, like Posse and Panther, were bold, political, unflinching, and the industry flinched. Studios called him too controversial, too black, too real. His films didn't just tell stories, they challenged power, and power pushed back. Opportunities dried up. His father's legacy, Melvin Van Peebles, the revolutionary, became both inspiration and burden. Mario was either riding coattails or falling short, depending on who you asked. Depression crept in. He left the game, retreating to Costa Rica, chasing something more peaceful than applause. Still, his fingerprints are everywhere. Every young black director who breaks through owes a piece of that path to New Jack City. To him. Was Van Peebles ahead of his time, or did Hollywood deliberately leave him behind? Have we finally caught up to the stories he was trying to tell? Let's talk about the director who made the streets speak. Nick Ashford as Reverend Oates. In a film soaked in gunfire and betrayal, he was the calm, the soul. As Reverend Oates, Nick Ashford didn't shout. He didn't threaten. He prayed. Just a few scenes, but his voice cut deeper than bullets. A preacher standing tall in the wreckage, offering faith where the streets offered death. But off-screen, Ashford had already lived a life of pain, poetry, and perseverance. With Valerie Simpson, he wrote some of the most iconic songs in music history. Ain't No Mountain High Enough, I'm Every Woman. Their love was legendary, their music eternal. And yet, while his songs soared, Ashford sank. Financial betrayal in the 70s left him nearly homeless. His name vanished from royalty checks, while his words blasted from radios worldwide. In the 80s, cocaine came for him. It nearly took his marriage. It almost took his life. But like the preacher he played, Ashford believed in second chances. He cleaned up, rebuilt, opened the Sugar Bar in New York, a haven for artists, dreamers, and legends in waiting. But then came his final battle, throat cancer. The voice that had carried so much hope was silenced. He died in 2011 at 69. Too soon, too quietly. Did you know the man in the pulpit was behind some of the greatest love songs ever written? What's your favorite Ashford and Simpson track? And what does it mean to you? Russell Wong as Park. He didn't need many lines, just a stare, just stillness. As Park in New Jack City, Russell Wong was the kind of enforcer who didn't need to shout to make you nervous. In a cast full of explosive characters, he was cold steel, quiet, deadly, unforgettable. And for a brief moment, it felt like something was shifting. An Asian-American actor in a gritty urban crime saga, not a martial artist, not a stereotype. Just a man with power, presence. It could have been a turning point. But Hollywood wasn't ready. Not then. Wong kept hearing the same offers: accented gangsters, stoic villains, kung fu fighters in tight boxes. He turned many of them down, held his ground, and paid the price. His big shot came in Vanishing Son, where he became one of the first Asian American leads in a primetime series. Critics cheered, audiences watched, but just as quickly as it rose, it was gone, canceled, forgotten. Another door slammed. After that, Russell drifted through smaller roles, while others with less talent moved ahead. His marriage crumbled. The spotlight faded. He retreated from the machine, splitting time between Los Angeles and Asia, teaching martial arts, finding peace behind the camera lens instead of in front of it. He never became the household name he could have been, but he cracked a door that others later kicked wide open. Vanessa A. Williams as Keisha. She wasn't just a sidekick, she was a storm in heels. In New Jack City, Vanessa A. Williams played Keisha with ice in her veins and fire in her eyes. A rare female enforcer in a male-dominated underworld. Gun drawn, chin high, she wasn't there to be pretty. She was there to be feared. It should have launched a fierce new star, but instead, it launched confusion. Hollywood couldn't seem to tell her apart from another actress, Vanessa L. Williams, the former Miss America. Credits were botched, roles were misdirected, casting directors booked the wrong woman, and Vanessa A. found herself fighting not for fame, but for her own name. By the time the Screen Actors Guild sorted it out, the momentum was gone. Her second chance came in Soul Food. As Maxine, she gave audiences warmth, power, and heart. It was a breakthrough that reminded everyone of what she could do. But the spotlight didn't stick. After the applause faded, so did the calls. Behind the scenes, the silence hurt more than critics ever could. Vanessa was battling undiagnosed PTSD, depression, the scars of a violent childhood, and the weight of single motherhood. A toxic relationship left her financially drained. Hollywood had forgotten her, but her pain never did. She lives quietly now. Royalties, speaking gigs, fan conventions. A career that once sparkled, now held together by resilience. Did you remember there were two Vanessa Williams? Or did Hollywood's mix-up erase a powerful performer too soon? Alan Payne as G-Money. He wasn't just Nino Brown's right hand, he was his brother in arms. And when the empire crumbled, so did he. Alan Payne's portrayal of G-Money in New Jack City was electric, charismatic, loyal, and heartbreakingly human. His descent into betrayal and addiction didn't just drive the plot, it broke the audience's heart. It was a star-making performance. And yet, Payne didn't chase the spotlight. He walked the other way. Unlike many of his co-stars, Payne never played the Hollywood game. He skipped the parties, dodged interviews, and kept his private life sealed tight. The industry didn't know what to do with that. Rumors began, hard to work with, too opinionated, too distant. Whether true or not, the narrative stuck. He had flashes of brilliance. Jason's lyrics showed his dramatic weight. House of Payne gave him a TV home. But even at his peak, Payne remained a ghost in the machine, always there, but never fully in it. Behind the scenes, he carried deeper wounds. A childhood marked by poverty and violence. Relationships strained by silence and pressure. A long-term partner left amid whispers of emotional isolation. Payne turned inward, finding comfort in faith and solitude, far from the red carpets. Today, he lives between Atlanta and New York. Quiet, grounded, unbothered by the fame he could have had, but never wanted.